Hello, I'm here already. Saya nak balik ke saya punya.
Dato Sri, you can maybe
I'm here.
yeah, maybe you can mute yourself and stop the video later, because later I'll introduce you, then you'll be out.
Okay.
Thank you. Hello, a very good morning to all of you. Welcome to PAM CPD Unlimited 2 for year 2021 webinar series. And this is the first time that we conduct the PAM Unlimited sessions through the digital platforms. So this is the events involving the collaboration from the two PAMS committee, and they are the Housing Urban Wellbeing Committee as well as the CPD committees. So let me introduce myself. My name is Architect Alice Leong, a practicing professional architect and also a professional interior designer. And currently, I'm the PAM Honorary Treasurer. So the chairman of the Membership, Youth and Events Committee, co-chair of the Gender Equities of the committees, as well as the co-chair of the Housing Urban Wellbeing Committee. I'm also the UIA SDG Commissions Committee for Region Number 4 and also represent PAM in the Acacia Greens and Sustainable Architecture Committee in Zone B as well. So I'm a qualified GBI facilitator as well as the GBI accredited panels. So today, thank you so much for for PAMS for getting me to become the moderator for these sessions, and it's truly my honor. Thank you so much for sparing your precious time to be with us today, ladies and gentlemen. A little bit introductions to let you know that this PAM Unlimited CPDs Unlimited was already started in year 2019, but that time is actually through the physicals, the old way that we conduct the series of the CPD talks. But because of these epidemic things, that we have to do it in the digital platform, which is more flexible and offer a lot of flexibilities to all the speakers as well as the moderators and all the participants as well. So today, in this one whole day sessions, we have various sessions and will be carried out concurrently with the different topics presented by different renowned speakers from our industry. They can be the architects and other professionals in our construction industry. So each of these sections, all the speakers, they will share with us all their experiences in this industry, businesses and education, what is the key issue and challenges that we face today. So as usual today, I would like to thank you to Architect Abuzari, our CPD chairman, as well as our PAMS deputy presidents for continue for this CPD Unlimited sessions. Thank you for him. And ladies and gentlemen, before we start this session, I would like to announce two very important announcements to all the participants. Please take note the CPD for all these sessions are applicable. So when you attend to all these sessions, please remember there is 2 codes will be provided in the beginning of the session and the end of the session. So you must actually log in 2 code. Otherwise, you are not eligible to claim for the points. So remember that the signing popping code will be pop up now, and the other one will be given at the later of the session. So secondly, there is a Q&A box below your screen. You can raise your questions in the question box, the Q&A box. I will pick it up from there, then I'll discuss it with our speakers. So ladies and gentlemen, this session is about the topics of eco-shift in built environment, where we'll focus on the items or matters related to sustainable SDG. I'm sure that many have heard about what is SDG all about, but however, what is exactly consists in SDG and how architect relates so much or other professionals in this industry relate to this SDG. So I believe today our speakers, Dato Seri, Engineer Dr. Zaini, is able to show and share with us how these things play into the role, especially in these epidemics that the whole world actually are being through, and we are still in this situation. So without further ado, let me have a very short introduction to our speakers today, Dato Seri, Engineer Dr. Zaini Ujang. So he is currently the Secretaries of Generals of Ministries of Environment and Water. He is a former of UTM Vice Chancellors and the Chair Professors in the Environment Sustainability. He is the author of EcoShift 2018, Japanese Ecosophies 2019, Membaca Motivasi and Kaedah for 2019, as well as 40 Hadis Palestinians Alam Sekitar with the co-writer Zulkifli Yusuf in year 2020. He is also a visiting professor at Imperial College London, and he is also the former Secretary General of Ministries of Energy, Green Tech and Water. So let us welcome Dato Seri, Engineer Dr. Zaini Ujang. And Dato Sri, I'll hand over the screens to you, and you may have the platform by now. Thank you so much. Remember to unmute. Yes, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Alice, for inviting me. I'm Zaini. Let me, how much time we have?
You have 1 hour, then we have half an hour of the Q&A
Okay,
session.
thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, first of all, I would like to thank everyone, especially Pertubuhan Architect Malaysia for inviting me. It is a great honor to be with you. I choose to talk about eco shift in built environment. It is a rather extensive and very wide topic. I think it is in line with my interests, not only as a professional but also as writer of the book entitled Eco Shift. The objective of my presentations, I would like to put this in perspective, because when we talk about built environment in the context of sustainable development goals, they are mainly the upper part, which is the carbon emission component of it, whereas on natural environment is the offsetting of GHG emission. And I'm going to talk about sustainability, why eco-shift matters, and then what are action-oriented that we must instill in ourselves so that we are not theoretical in nature and we try to do whatever we can. We specific on focus on, say for example, it's my core business mainly on river basin management, solid waste, water management, from governance to environmental services. So let me explain to you about my key concern. The outcome of this, I hope that all practitioners, academics, and whoever attending this will be able to understand and adopt eco-shift pathway for low carbon society and circular economy. So the keywords is low carbon society and circular economy. I will start with this. This is a photo that my colleagues taken in Kampung Dato Abu Bakar Baginda in Bandar Baru Bangi. It's very close to Putrajaya. This river originated in Putrajaya in section or precinct 15. And it goes through this, and then it will confluence with Langat River later. And we have our water intake about 20 kilometers downstream. So how can we, within 2 months, we will be able to change the river? So first, by removing solid waste, we try to have a proper sediment traps with trimming greens. We put sabu structures or creek structures within the stretch of the river, which is about around 1 kilometer. Yeah. And this is as a result. But what is also important is public participation. Public must know that we are doing this. Public must participate. And in order to participate, public must be able to get some benefits. So we provide river trails, river parks, and potential ecotourism in the future. I would like to talk about this little experience, not to say that I don't have a bigger experience, but this is experience that everyone can do within their vicinity, within their neighborhoods. I'm not talking about something big that no one can emulate. Yeah. So let's start with this little example. So eco-shift is a principles that we developed, and it is very simple. One is action-oriented. There's a lot of people who are talking about environment, about big policies, about climate change, lack of action-oriented practices and framework. Let I do it first, rather than what can you do to help me, or what can government do, what must government do, what should government do. That's the framework of many people. When you talk about something, oh, this should be the work of that local authority and the rest except me. The third one is we start small. Start with the stretch of river in front of your house. Start with something very simple, doable, without much resources. The fourth one is holistic perspective. The fourth, systematic approach. Systemic approach means that it will be there, and for Muslim, we keep on saying, inshallah, they will be sustained. Yeah, and then number 6 is outputs and outcomes to be identified from beginning. And it must be a framework. And I'm saying a framework because many parts, especially when you involve public, it is one-off. It is rather for once a year kind of thing. Yeah, it's not continuous, and it must be habitual in nature. I will talk about habitual later, and with impactful target. And I think the spirit of just do it. So this is what I meant by EcoShift framework. Often we were given time and resources, and we have to plan something. Say, for example, we have to improve our river situation. There's a lot of rubbish in rivers. When you build new township and whatnot, often we forget about the importance of river to the people. And then we start strategizing, assuming we are developing sewage treatment plant. Okay, we build sewage treatment plant. We have strategy where to locate, how much discharges we'll be able to collect in terms of population equivalence. This is common to all practitioners in built environment. And then we say that we can cover this and we can cover that. And then in the future, we have to have rationalization. So all treatment plants will be dismantled. And then we have big sewage treatment plant that replace the old 20 or 200 plants that we have in the country at the moment, in many parts of the country at the moment. And then we start implementing, we do something, and then we improve from time to time. We get a set of outcomes. But I'm wondering whether we are able to change people in terms of mindset, in terms of behavior, in terms of habitual, in relation to what we are doing. If we are talking about water, we are talking about reducing pollution, whether people are with us in reducing pollution, whether they are willing to pay the expenses related to it, the services related to it. If they are not able to do it, so we have to check, we have to revisit the whole framework. If they understand, they must be able to appreciate, and they must be able to participate in doing what we are trying to achieve. And not only outputs, connecting their houses to the centralized sewage treatment plant, but also willingness to pay, willingness to upgrade, willingness to ensure that in case in the future we need to do something, they are coming forward easily because they understand the whole water security issues. So this requires what we call public participation with at least 5, depending on public participation models. But actually, this is the simplest one, by informing. Often we do just informing. We are not consulting people. We are not getting them involved. We are not collaborating. We are not empowering. If we do this, 5 of this public participation framework, we will be able to change habits and behavior of the people. And we can create culture. And finally, number 7, we can have irreversible change in people. So that is the cultural transformation required. That is what we call EcoShift. What is the difference between habits and behavior? Why habit is 5A and behavior is 5B? Because often in the personal domain, when we talk to people, we try to change behavior, not the habits. What is the difference between behavior and habits? Habit is subconscious mind. You do it without thinking. And 95%, up to 95% of what we do in life on daily basis are habitual. Behavioral is conscious mind. We do it because of stimulus of punitive or incentive. We do it because we get tax rebates, we get some kind of benefits, or we get punishment. You do this, you are caught, you get into some penalties attached. So this is the difference. We need both. But often, in many ways, when we to public participation exercise, we forget the importance of habit. We concentrate too much on behavior. We try to give incentive. At the end of the day, without incentive, people are not reacting. I give you an example. When I was Secretary General, Ministry of Energy, Green Technology, and Water, we give special rebate for people to buy electric car and hybrid car, up to 80,000 per car, 80,000 ringgit per car incentive, tax rebate. And people bought that car, I'm not saying all, but most people, because of the tax incentive. After we stopped in 2018, if I'm not mistaken, so not many people interested to buy because there is no incentive attached. So they buy the car not because of the necessity to reduce carbon emission, say for example. And when I check, it's very little or almost none of them buying car as a first car or as a car that they use. Most people bought that car as a fifth car or fourth car or third car in their family. So they don't need that car to use for work. It is an option for them. They have choice of cars in it. So these are, I think, it's not what we are trying to do. EcoShift is to change policy. We get a set of outputs as well as outcomes. So what are the outcomes? So this is an example. As far as environmental policy is concerned, what we can do is mostly number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and 5B. So that is through environmental policy. If we want to go beyond that, we have to talk about ecological philosophy. We have to use different language, different incentive, different tone altogether. Example, as a Muslim, if you talk about carbon emission, not many people will be interested because carbon emission is not prescribed in Quran or in Hadith. So therefore, I wrote a book specifically talking about Islamic ecosophy. Yeah, so the principle of halal and tayyiban, not only halal, but tayyib. Tayyib means good, halal and good, and khalifah, ihsan, taqwa, ibadah. So if Muslims, say for example, they were taught ecological philosophy, from that perspective, they must respect and do something good to make sure that the river in front of your house is clean, so they know the benefit. Yeah, not only here, but the hereafter. Unless you make it clear. Otherwise, you just go on environmental policy with the outcomes of KPI of Secretary General or the ministry, in terms of budget spending, in terms of rating, whether you get good ratings for completing this project, or you can get some good index. So these are the differences between outcomes and outputs from that perspective that we have to understand. Therefore, I believe that we have to talk not only good environmental policy, but we start to talk about ecological philosophy. In the book I wrote on Japanese ecosophy, yeah, in 2019, I put it very clearly. If you talk about sustainability, prior to 1970, say for example, people were talking about pollution episodes. At that time, you have to choose development or ecosystems. It is largely end of pipe framework. You can pollute, no problem, but you put it in a pipe and then you channel them to wastewater treatment plant. So that was the thinking. You can you can produce solid waste as much, but you collect solid waste and then you send to incinerator or landfilling processes. But later, say now we are talking about sustainability 0.4. People are talking about carbon footprint. The focus is no longer pollution episode. If we have sometime pollution episode in the country that cause us water disruption and whatnot, so it shows that we are still behind. People are not talking about carbon footprint. If you want to do, say for example, conferences, what is your carbon footprint of the conferences? And then how can we offset the carbon emitted? Growth is no longer you choose between development or ecosystem. We are talking about green growth. We are talking about development and ecosystem together. This is what we call sustainable development. Governance is no longer regulatory or systemic. It's this lifestyle. Why people are not doing this? Because this is my lifestyle. People are talking about minimalism, say for example. People are talking about low carbon lifestyle. It is value driven. Why people are cycling in some parts of the world? Now Singapore is trying to encourage people to cycle to work, to walk to work. And they want to make it as part of the value. And it must be holistic in nature. Yeah, it's no longer regulated or end of pipe. So this framework only can be settled through environmental policy. But if you want to enter the personal domain, and you require environmental philosophy or ecosophy. Yeah, so this is very important. I wrote another book last year, and this book is a best-selling book. We are running for the second edition, less than 1 year of the publishing the first edition. You can see that from Japanese perspective, focus on carbon footprint is not sellable in Japan. They have to talk about mottainai. Mottainai means no waste, don't waste, waste not. That's the meaning of mottainai. Growth, they are not talking about green growth, they are talking about kaizen. Governance, they are talking about kami. Kami is the name, or I mean the God-fearing kind of sentiment. And in the context of Japanese, when they talk about kami, they have 8 million gods, gods of river, god of that particular river, god of that particular mountains and whatnot. So they govern themselves by realizing the importance of the presence of many gods around them. Infrastructure is wa. Wa means balance. Framework is ikigai. Yeah, so this is what I wrote in Japanese ecosophy, and this is the book is going to be available in April in Japanese language, and you can get it in Tokyo or in Kuala Lumpur. But from Islamic perspective, say for example, we were talking about halalan tayyiban, as I mentioned, not about green growth. If you talk about green growth for Muslim, it will not move them. You have to talk about khalifah. This is the concept of khalifah. Lifestyle, we don't want to regulate that much because you cannot regulate many people. Say for example, to reduce less water in their life. We are using a lot of water now. If you regulate, it's difficult. But if you say that this is part of ihsan, it's different. Yeah, and what else if you say that this is part of taqwa and ibadah? So we have to approach when we talk about ecosophy beyond environmental policy. That's my point. So I wrote a book quite some time ago on Minda Lestari, the Mind of Sustainability in 2010. And my concern at that time was policy. And when I became Secretary General of Ministries, this is my third ministries that I'm Secretary General, I think policy can be drafted very easily. That's the easiest thing. But what we need is public participation and cultural transformation. So therefore, we need cultural transformation, as I mentioned, in EcoShift framework. So in 2019, people are asking me, what is the example? So I said, in Japanese society, this is what they are doing. Lifestyle in Japan, they are not philosophical. They are not talkative in Japanese term. They are talking from their actions. So that's very important. And I'm finishing, this is the book that I was not able to finish together with my colleagues, Gustav Olsson, because of COVID-19. We suddenly realized that COVID-19 is very good case study for us to include in the book. But the book is probably 70% completed, but we have to include COVID-19 as part of planetary health that I'm going to discuss later. So this is the book that I think we've completed for many people. They realize this book is very useful. Okay, let's talk about the ministry. When we started this ministry, it's about 11 months ago. We made it very clear, the Ministry of Environment and Water is leading the effort towards Sustainable Malaysia 2030. In essence, 26 initiatives are built upon 4 thrusts: empowered governance, green growth, strategic collaboration, and social cohesiveness, covering atmosphere. When you talk about environment, environment has 4 components. One is atmosphere, hydrosphere, lithosphere, and biosphere. We plan to collaboratively enhance the planetary health. So the words planetary health occurred here. Therefore, the book on letters in Scandinavia was not able to be completed because we want to include planetary health in this context. So you can download this very easily by QR code over there. So this is what we are planning. Clean rivers, say for example, we have 357 clean rivers at the moment. We want to increase by 25% of the total rivers that we have in the country. So it means that 25% of the river in the country will be clean. We have about 80,000 stretch of rivers in the country. Yeah. Air quality, 25 cubic microgram per meter cube at the moment. So we want to improve from time to time. So you can see a lot of things here. I am not going to repeat this. You can just download. But this covers 4 principles or 4 trusts that I mentioned, and import governance, blah blah blah. So I'm going to touch upon a few things that I'm going to share with you in the future in the context of planetary health. So when people describe about planetary health, it's like this. There are 9 components that matters to us. One is climate change, biosphere integrity, land system change, freshwater use, biogeochemical flows, ocean acidification, atmospheric aerosol loading, stratospheric ozone depletion, novel entities, and climate change. Yeah? So if you look into this, there are components exceeding uncertainty level, such as biogeochemical flows. This is mainly water pollution from sources largely from agricultural sectors, because they have a lot of phosphorus and nitrogen compounds from sewage, treated and non-treated sewage, and then we have biosphere integrity. So let's talk about biosphere integrity. COVID-19 is an example of biosphere integrity that exceeding the uncertainty level. COVID-19 should be in wildlife ecosystem, and now they are in built environment ecosystem. They are close to people. We have no immunity against COVID-19, but if you talk about wildlife ecosystem, they are perfectly in that situation. So now people try to establish the pathways of COVID-19 from wildlife to Wuhan and the rest. That's what they are trying to do. So if that occurred, it confirmed that biosphere integrity is a great thing for us to think about. Yeah. So only 2 things, which is exceeding the uncertainty level. Therefore, in my examples that I'm talking today, I'm talking about climate change, but I'm saying that climate change is within the certainty limit. We can still predict, we can still control, we know what to do. But when it comes to biogeochemical flows, it is beyond our control at the moment. Therefore, a lot of rivers, a lot of estuaries, a lot of oceans and lakes are polluted. This is largely because of geochemical flows in the system. So I give the first token. If you want to remember, this must be remembered if you want to understand the whole spectrum. In order to solve this, there are many ways to do it. An academic from Oxford University, Kate Raworth, proposed the idea of donut economics. It means that we think of donuts and we must ensure that it is not kuih apam. Kuih apam, you don't have the hole in between. The little hole here is to ensure that we have water, food, health, education, income and work, peace and justice, political voice, social equity, gender equality, housing, networks, energy, whatever. Yeah, to be looked at. So whenever we control, we must ensure that the outer part is not to be expanded, and the inner part is controlled proper, so that we still have food, we still have enough water for that particular initiative. I just give you a concept so that when people start talking about can Kuala Lumpur be a donut economy city, so this is the concept. Yeah, so ensuring everything to be balanced. So from climate perspective, there are three pathways, representative concentration pathways. This is produced by IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. They were awarded Nobel Prize in 2008 for simplifying the understanding of people on climate change. So this is one of the outcomes of their work. You can see the historical before the year 2000, and we are at the juncture at the moment in 2020. We signed Paris Agreement in 2016 for Malaysia, but many countries signed it, Paris Agreement 2015, I mean in December, which is many countries signed it later, slightly later. There are three possibilities, pathways. One, if you don't do anything, you get the red color, RCP 8.5. And then if you do something, we are going to get what we call as RCP 4.5. I'm not going to talk about what does it mean by 4.5, but looking at this table, you'll be able to understand. So what climate change initiative or climate action is trying to be, to keep the climate in terms of global warming within control of 2 degrees Celsius compared to the historical data from pre-industrial revolution. Yeah, we want to keep everything under the blue color. So therefore, for Muslims, say for example, if you talk this, oh, it's very nice color. Yeah, well, so what? So for Muslim, you have to read this. In Surah Ar-Rahman, I'm sure some of you are Muslim listening to me. In the book, in early chapter, I mentioned this is how you look at it. Asy-syamsu wal qamaru bi husban wan najmu wasyajaru yasjudan was-samaa'a rafa'aha wa wada'al mizan alla tadghaw fil mizan. So what is important is the precise calculation. So we are doing precise calculation. Yeah. And it must be balanced. We must keep the balance. Do not transgress the balance. So if you transgress the balance, you will be penalized. So this is very important. In the past, when we try to understand this, there is no issue of climate change. We use it for different purposes. Mizan was mainly used for, say, for example, business people. You have to make sure that when you count something, it must be balanced or something like that. Yeah. But we can also use the same principle, because this surah, when they talk about this chapter, when they talk about balance, it is for sun and moons. It means we are talking about the cosmos. So cosmos must be closer to the issue at stake at the moment, which is climate change. Okay, and then we are talking about in RCP 8.5. If you use RCP 8.5, these are countries will be under water stress. You can see that Malaysia is not included. So don't say that we are having water stress. We are well endowed by water. This is naturally by God. Yeah. Say for example, where I'm coming from, Kuala Pilah, 1,727 mm per year. This is Muar, Johor, Kanga. Kanga is one of the driest place, but Kuala Pilah is the driest in Malaysia. And Machang, say for example, compared to Netherlands, it's only 700 mm. They can survive there, plenty of water. Japan, 1,400, half than what we have. Australia is 1/3 of what we have. Yeah, 1/4 of what we have. So don't complain that Malaysia is having water stress. Malaysia is not able to manage water proper. So this is correct if you say that. But if you're saying that we are under water stress, it shows that by default we are not good in managing water. This is until the year 2040. So my echo shift token number 2, we are well endowed with water. So don't say that we are under water stress. No one believes that we are in water stress. Climate change, to the effect that we can see a lot of earthquake happening at the moment, sea level rising, it is just because of warmer by 0.8 degrees Celsius. So that's the effect. If you go beyond that, say for example 2, we can see that water supply affected due to intrusion of seawater, salt water to the ecosystem, to the river ecosystem. Say for example, in 1962, when Singapore built PUB water treatment plant in Kota Tinggi along Sungai Johor, the highest tidal at that time can arrive at 17 kilometers from the river mouth, but now exceeding 45. Kota Tinggi is located 45 kilometers upstream of Sungai Johor from river mouth. Yeah, so it's already entering that. If we have the situation worse in the future, say for example, it could be up to 70 kilometers in the case of Sungai Muar. Why we have additional water? First, because water from the upstream is less because of the catchment is lower. And at the same time, when we have global warming, we can see the ice cap in Arctic will be melting. So they will increase the volumes of seawater. So when it is during high tide, you can go further. You can go upstream to more than 45 kilometers that I mentioned in the context of Sungai Johor. So, and then let me talk about sustainability a bit. How can we do it? Now, when we talk about sustainability, the currency is carbon. Yeah, and whatever carbon you produce at the moment, it will stay there. A single unit of CO2 will stay for the next 500 years. Still, the CO2 that we produce. Yeah, and some carbon substances, we call it greenhouse gases, will stay and triple the amount. Carbon in the form of CO2 will be there for another 500 years, but some components or some substances of carbon under why greenhouse gases? Because it mimic the greenhouse in the moderate climates conditions. When you have greenhouse, you maintain you keep the greenhouse intact in terms of temperature. It is much higher than the surrounding temperature. So why that happened? Because of the releasing of some carbons that we have from the activities of the world, yeah, of the people, that traps heat within the atmospheric level. So whatever we do, whatever we produce, therefore we were very concerned about people in other countries are doing, because their carbon, CO2, will remain in our atmosphere as well. Yeah, we are sharing the atmosphere. It's not like river. River, say for example, you pollute the river in Selangor, only people in Selangor will be affecting in terms of water services, but people in Kedah or in Kelantan will not be affected. But if you produce carbon, people in Switzerland, people in Japan, people in New Zealand also having same effect. What is the approach to reduce carbon and to have increased carbon sink? What is the methodology? Green technology and green cover. I'm going to explain it a bit detail later. What is the system? How can we do it? How can we have green technology? We have to have a new machine. We need to buy cars like Tesla, but Tesla is very expensive. We need a cheaper car. Yeah, but we have to be able to do that. In the low carbon mobility, we make it very clear that by 2030 we are going to have 10,000 electric buses. We are going to change the engine. Many countries now are banning fossil fuel car by 2030. Yeah, the UK, say for example, by 2030. 2025 in the UK, in Europe in particular, there will be no fossil fuel car will be sold in the market, because they know after 5 years the car will be scrapped, will be banned. So we are thinking of, I'm forecasting by 2025, all major companies in the world will not produce any fossil fuel based car. Yeah, or we call it ICE, internal combustion engines. So, but people with lifestyle of not polluting, they will go first, despite the price is still high. People who are looking for incentive or punitive because they are changed by behavioral, not by habitual, they will follow that later. Yeah, so they will wait until their last end. And then we have circular economy. So factor number 2, the system in place should be low carbon lifestyle and circular economy. Lifestyle is individual, circular economy is systemic. So this is all described in EcoShift. So this is the report. I'm very fortunate to be able to sign this on behalf of the government of Malaysia, when this is part of the requirement for countries like Malaysia, signatory to Paris Agreement 2015, to send reports of our data. X-4 means that we have to report 2016 in 2020. So this report was submitted to United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change on before 31st of December. So I mean, I'm grateful because I was responsible for this, yeah, because I'm reporting this on behalf of government. So you can see that the sector, including transportation, reduced from 253 to 251, but it's still 79% of the total carbon emission in the country. So we have to change our transportation modes. We have to change our energy modes, energy generation. The easiest is energy efficiency. You reduce the energy that you require by changing the type of facilities or equipments we have. That's the easiest way to do. Industrial processes and products, which is very little, but increasing from 20 to 27. Agriculture is still major thing, 11%. So this is something important. Land use and land use change and forestry. It's not only forestry, but land use. Say, for example, the land is in Kajang, in industrialized area or urbanized area. From, say, for example, green, we change it. From parks at the moment, we change it. So this is related to architects, town planners, engineers, yeah. So you can see that from 3 to 17. So this is the biggest emission. And when I check, forestry is almost constant. What is not constant is the land use change. Not land use, but land use change. We call it LULUCF emission. And LULUCF removals means that the offsetting, that we plant more trees that we get. But unfortunately, we don't plant more trees. Some trees are declining that we can use as a trait, as a offsetting to the emission that we have. So at the end, the total plus waste that we have, waste means that waste from solid waste, waste from agricultural waste, waste from sewage, yeah, so that generate 27. So waste and industrial are the same. So we have to address the issue of solid waste. Solid waste is also an issue. If you're not addressing proper, it's ended in our river. So the total emission with LULUCF is 49 2014, and then recently 75, increased by 50%. Yeah, from 50 to 75. Yeah, this is in our biennial update report number 3, 2020. So, and if you look into graphical point of view, you can see that the upper part is the emission. The biggest 79% is from energy, mainly from power generation, which is about 24%. The rest are transportation. So if we can reduce transportation, by not traveling that much, number one, use better car, or say, for example, you use public transport, so that we average our, I mean, we get in per cubic meter or per gallons of petrol that burned. Instead of transporting 1 people, we can transport 5 people. Yeah. So in order to improve this, there are 2 ways to do it. One is to reduce carbon emission and to increase offsetting. Offsetting is the green color, LULUCF, LULUCF removal that we have. So this is what we are trying to do. Therefore, government recently announced the policy of 10 million trees to be planted by 2030. Yeah, so this is to increase the offsetting, and at the same time we have carbon low carbon mobility. And if you read the policy sustainability 2030 that I mentioned earlier, you can see that. Okay, this number 2. Overall, from micro perspective, this is macro perspective, this is micro perspective. You can refer to Sustainable Development Report. Malaysia is ranked number 60. Malaysia is better than Singapore, so that's to be mentioned. But these are related to my ministry that I'm responsible: clean water and sanitation, population using at least basic drinking water, population using at least basic sanitation services, fresh water withdrawal, which is this is no longer 5.9%. We are now up to 6 or 7%. It means that the rest 93% is wasted. As you can talk, that's for evaporation or recharging groundwater, or we just leave it to the sea. I mean, the river is flowing to the sea. Yeah, it means that we are not able to capture more than, assuming now it's 7. This data is a bit outdated, 2005. It means that the issue of water stress is not proper to be discussed in Malaysia in that context. We are having abundance of water. We just release to allow the water to be flowing to the sea. Anthropogenic wastewater that receive treatment is also wrong data. We are going to improve it. This is premises that require industrial wastewater treatment plant. All of them are under either Department of Environment. So this data should be, I would say that 95% or 98%. It's not 12%, because the rest are dry industrial service, industrial premises. So the data was wrongly submitted. We discovered recently. Yeah. So we are going to improve SCAR water consumption, and this is also important for us to understand. On top of that, we have affordable cities, affordable and clean energy, population with access to electricity, which is good. Population with access to clean fuels and technology for cooking. CO2 emission from fuel combustion for electricity and heating per total capacity. This is to be improved, yes, very badly. And then we have infrastructure, so for example, population using the internet and the rest, sustainable cities, access to improved water source piped, satisfaction with public transportation, it just need to be improved. Municipal solid waste, electronic waste. Therefore, now we are trying very hard to collect all electronic waste, including all refrigerators, all cables and whatnot. Yeah, so this is very important. What should I do for the next 10 minutes? We require 3 levels of actions. One is local, regional, and global. Yeah, so we cannot just talk about global and regional, forgetting local. Local means that we must do something at our level. I'll give you an example, rubbish. If you are not able to settle it at local level, it will be bioplastic issue. It means that the plastic that we are not able to capture will be entering our riverine system, and it will be taken by aquatic life, and in the body of fish and turtles there will be microplastic. and then we have issue. Unless we do it by using bioplastic, they will be disposed or will be degraded naturally. In Sustainability 2030, we mentioned about the 9 sungai. The 9 mean trail. Why our rivers are sometimes being polluted, people dispose a lot of things because from my observation, we keep rivers away from people. In fact, if you ask people where do you get water from as a source water, they don't know. And most of what we are doing, I'm living in Bangi. I'm getting water from Semenyih 2. Semenyih 2 is my downstream. Downstream of Sungai Abu Bakar Baginda, Sungai Air Hitam in Abu Bakar Baginda, downstream of Sungai Langat, where I'm living at the moment. So I'm getting my water from my downstream. It means that I must look after whatever I discharge upstream. Yeah, and those people who are living in Putrajaya or in Semenyih, they are getting their water from Semenyih River, not from the dam, but from the river. The dam is just to regulate water in the river. So as I mentioned earlier, this is what we need to do. So one is to ensure that we are low carbon society. Yeah, and we try to ensure that we use green products and consumption. This is very important for architects. Say, for example, if you have an option of natural lighting, do it. Natural lighting. Don't cover. Don't make the situation dark and that you have to switch on light 24 hours in the building in temperate climates and in tropical regions. Walking and cycling, public transport is needed. Generate less waste and zero waste, circular economy, planting trees, yeah, using less resources, using green products, cleanliness and whatnot. So planting trees, example of activities, we put forward a framework for government to have green vaccination. When we vaccine people, we get the vaccine from nowhere. I'm not sure where you're getting from, say for example from the US, and then you have to be, the vaccine needs to be transported to Malaysia, and then in the system, it's a lot of things. So we are now calculating per head of people, how much carbon emitted to give you a dose of vaccine, and want to offset with planting trees. So this is what we are trying to do at the moment, and then we will make it known to everyone, I think by next week or the week after. If you want to have your vaccination offsetting with trees, so I will tell you, you need to, example, plant 2.5 trees for having the vaccine injected. Yeah, so that kind of thing. Let me give you an example before I end. Often when you have something, people keep on rhetorical, blaming each other. At the end of the day, there is no outcome, there is no output. If you do that, you hit people, and then no one will be doing it properly because they just want to show that they have done something. Say, for example, an enforcement officer will catch some people. So you can get a number of people being penalized, and to have legal instrument in place is very expensive and very lengthy in terms of times. But you can get it shorter if you make people understood what they try to achieve in life. And then if you get people participating, not only things that you ask them to do, but things related to that on environment. Say, for example, when you start talking the importance of climate change, we start asking them to do plogging, jogging, and then collecting rubbish while they jogging. So then they familiarize themselves with voluntarism as lifestyle, and then slowly we can inject more things. Then they will be committed. So this is what we are trying to do under EcoShift. Change is small change. Transform is big change. Shift is different platform of change. So that's the difference between change, transform, and shift. Shift is big change that require different platform. Transform is the same platform. Yeah. So this is very important. I don't have time to talk about this. I'm going to stop another 2 minutes. I have some people ask how to change habit. So how to change habit? We must tell people 3 things, and if possible, by not talking to them. What, why, and how. So we tell them by baby steps of what to do. So for example, if you want to have this country clean, you invite them or you show the importance of cleaning rivers or doing plugging. Yeah, this is by baby steps. So you don't ask them to do it because they will say that this is not my job. So when we start encouraging them, you can use the pretext of, say, for example, neighborhood activities. You can start by, say, for example, we do this because of health reason, and the rest. And then slowly they try to acclimatize that, and they do it regularly, probably 40 times. Why 40 times? I don't know. People say that if you want to change habits, you do it 40 times. And we do it more effectively and more efficiently. And when we blend ourselves with the community of learners, or implementers, friends of Rivers Malaysia. I'm president, friend of Rivers Malaysia. Tree planting clubs, say no to single-use plastic and whatever. Yeah, and slowly we achieve something big as what we aspire to have. At least I'm going to stop there for a while. If you have any questions, we can start talking about it.
Yeah, thank you, Dato Sri. Thank you so much for your sharing. I think this is amazing sharing. Indeed, when we talk about sustainable development, especially involving the SDG, the 17 goals, it may sound 17, not that many, but it almost cover everything around the whole world. But again, it's back to each of the country, what is the problems and challenges they face. So Dato Sri, I totally agree with what you say, that to implement it, all individual, the behavior really have to change. Our habits have to change. I will see that, especially in these epidemics, it forced the whole world people to change their so-called the bad behaviors or the bad habits to actually, in another way, is actually to make them actually improve. So Dato Sri, I have one question received from one of our participants. The name is called Liang Lam. He is saying that, thank you, Dato Sri. I admire the way you translate the sustainable development into the emotional language of the people. For example, the Islam and Japanese culture. So for Malaysian, would you consider opening the sustainable developments to us of another culture, such as orang asal, Indians, Chinese, and Malayans, etc.? Yeah.
I think Japanese eco shift is very much into Buddhist Zen kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you read that, I learned Japanese because I think they are marvelous. If you think of, I give you an example. People travel to Japan and they ask me after they're completing the visit, why Japanese are so clean? And you must remember, they are not suddenly cleaned. There are historical facts. This is after tough Higris typhoon a few years ago, and this is flooding in Japan. You can see that the flood, it is not muddy, and it is clean. There is no floating things in the ecosystem, and this is one of the oldest train station in Tokyo, and this was built after World War II. Yeah, this is quite old. You can see that old structures. This is during that flooding occur. You can see that it looks like swimming pool. And people ask me why this thing happened. One thing that you must remember, in Japan, every year there is what we call cleaning day. Everyone must go down to the street, clean the street, clean rivers, clean a storm drain, whatever. It is almost mandatory. If you don't go, you are left behind, not participating. I forgot the date, but we are trying to do the same in Malaysia with small scale, of course. And then when you clean, in schools, say for example, in primary, secondary school, kindergarten, there is no janitors. You have to clean by rotation. There is schedule for this class to clean toilets today, and playing fields, whatever. So they themselves make sure that the environment clean. Otherwise, it's difficult for them to clean when things come to them. So this require habit and behavior, and workable regulatory framework. Their regulatory framework is not as punishable as us in Malaysia. Yeah, we punish more, but it's difficult for us to catch people. If you throw rubbish, for example, the penalty is 2,000 ringgit Malaysia. I'm asking the local authorities, how many people that you caught this year or last year? If you can give me some results. I say, well, we don't have people to do this, then why you put it 2,000 ringgit? You must use different strategy. The environmental services is good, yeah, and then they are willing to pay. Despite they are cleaning, they are willing to pay. This is something that we have to understand in Malaysia. I'm not talking about a singular authorities or ministries or state, but I would like to share this with everyone, that we have to do it, as I mentioned, the first principle of EcoShift, to do it, action oriented, not to start blaming. Sometimes you try to blame people or to try to get a tougher regulation, tougher rules. The question is not the rules. The question is whether people are willing to obey. And we have enough people on the street to monitor. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Wow, this is amazing. This is the first time I see floodings or taufans with this kind of clean water. It's so much different from our countries.
Not only from our country. You go to United States or you go to the UK, it's not like this. Therefore, I wrote Japanese ecosophy. I think there's something for us to learn. And that is derived from Buddhist and Zen culture. Yeah.
Wow.
If you, I cannot find it easy for me to understand if I write about Chinese or something like that. I think it must be rooted within Buddhist ecosystem. Buddhist monk, I'm not sure about it because the book that I read, I've been to Japan for more than 100 times already. I didn't study in Japan, but I traveled to Japan. I learned from Japanese professors. There are three things in life they do. One is cleaning. Second is do the ritual. And third is to relax, to rest. You just imagine 1/3 of the time is cleaning. I read a book by a Buddhist monk, a Japanese Buddhist monk. He tried to modernize Zen Buddhism in Japan, and he got MBA, and he wrote book in English. And he said that what makes Japanese clean, because despite they are not religious, they are following the principles of what is to be done. They don't take the theology part, but they take the ritual part. They take the ethical parts. Yeah.
Oh, this is amazing. Yeah, this is amazing. I think at least from outside ourselves here, we have to change the kind of the way of we behave and the way we think, and to learn the good from all the others cultures.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we must. Therefore, when I write, I don't say for sustainability point 4 is mainly what Scandinavian are doing. Therefore, my book on letters on Scandinavia is deriving this, how they. But when we study that together with my colleagues, Gustav Holston, actually when you talk about sustainability, green things, it started with Scandinavian ecosystem. Why we have Greta Thunberg? Greta Thunberg was named the Person of the Year 2019 by the Time magazine at the age of 16. Yeah, he can debate with the Secretary General of United Nations at the age of 16, and he can have polemic with President of United States at that time. And they are within that culture. They are different people. If you, my affection towards people in Scandinavia, largely when you talk about people minimalism concepts, IKEA design, simplicity, blah, 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 cycling, they started this 20, 25 years ago. When you talk about design, say for example, where you want to replicate your green design, it's all Scandinavian. So I learned from their lifestyle, their thinking, and this is what I said. 1, 2, 3, 4, 4 is largely based on Scandinavian ecosystem, eco shift. Yeah, and then you have Japanese eco shift, and you have Islamic eco shift. At least you have 3 here.
Agree. I'll suggest all the participants to grab all the books, written by Dato Sri. I think this is because you have no, I think you have traveled all around the world and you have learned so much from different professors and all the specialists. So with the knowledge, I'm sure you have already put inside. So it's very good to explore and knowing much more from that. Even for those who have did not have the opportunity to travel all around and to have this kind of things. I've been to some of the countries in Scandinavia, so it's really impressive the way that even though their country is not as rich water as us, but they are managed to control their water cleanliness and sanitations very well. It means that you just open their tap, you just can drink like that, but it doesn't happen here at all. So something we have to change.
And then you have to appreciate the willingness to pay. Yes. Say, for example, Scandinavian countries are notorious in terms of income tax. My colleagues are paying 67 of his money to taxation, 67 of his income. And he is happily paying because this contribution to the people. Per cubic meter of water supply in Denmark and Sweden is about 10 USD. Sorry, 10 euro. Yeah, yep. 10 euro. 10 euro is 45 ringgit, 1 cubic meter. Correct, in Malaysia, the first 20 was in Selangor was free. So people use water as much as they want, and then it's free. So when it is free, encourage people to use 20. In countries like Scandinavia, they do rainwater harvesting. They ensure almost every premise in Scandinavian countries that I know have rainwater harvesting. They use it for flushing toilets. So the water that they get from the public water supply is largely for drinking purposes and for cleaning. Cleaning means that bathing, showering and bathing, and the rest are all from rainwater, from rainwater harvesting.
So Dato Sri, we have a few questions here from other participants as well.
Please.
One of them, they say, great slide, Dato Sri. And how will you promote this understanding for climate change for eco-shift? For example, to the lesser learned communities, it seems that it's hard enough to reach the group that can already understand the severities of the planetary's health. How do we start in the kampong or rural areas, for example?
Okay, I show you some photos. Okay, I think professionals like us, we should not teach people rhetorically. We should do this to people. And when top architects doing this, some people start thinking themselves, what's happening? What is actually happening? I just give you an example. I have a lot of slides to show, but this is simple things. Scattered rubbish theory. Yeah, a scattered rubbish theory is an eco-shift framework that visible signs of poor environmental services, dirty, untidy, and ecological disorder will create a situation that encourages more unlawful rubbish dumping, hazardous waste disposal, and environmental disorder, including more carbon emission and cutting more trees. The theory suggests that eco-shift, eco-habits, and cleanliness among core group of a community, among core group architects, professionals, professors, students, public servants, supported through environmental policing by public at large, not by authorities. Yeah, and authorities, I put public at large, and then authorities. No, authorities first, public at large. If you go to Switzerland, say for example, you go to Denmark, blah blah. If you throw rubbish in front of others, they will say, please take back your rubbish. Yeah, this is not, because I'm paying for your action. This untidy will cost us money because we need more people on the street to clean it. So they themselves policing the environment that target minor bad habits and behavior, such as throwing rubbish on the street. I'm not talking about big things, industrial emission. No. We are talking about small things. Throwing rubbish on the streets or rivers, environmental vandalism, help to create an atmosphere of order and lawfulness, thereby preventing more environmental pollution, vandalism, and criminalism. So this is a simple theory that I think workable, because when we develop EcoShift, we want to base it on a theory. So this is the theory that we are basing. Something like this. You put this and then people will throw more rubbish because people know that someone is looking after the rubbish. Yeah. So how can we solve this?
This cannot be solved. I totally agree with it. The saying is
if
the
you
buang
do
sampah
this,
denda
dilarang di sini,
500, they'll just throw more.
Yeah, throw more, because people know that you are looking after this area. Yeah. Therefore, you put this this signboard. So if you don't blame people, you collect the rubbish, you clean it, and you put flowers on it.
All right, correct.
Yeah.
I realize that many countries, if you really want to find, I mean, along the streets or wherever, it's pretty hard to find a, what do you call it, the dustbin. So what I observe from their citizens, what they do is even the simple tissues, papers, whatever, they'll just put in their pockets and they'll bring back and throw. That's it. Yeah.
If you and me doing this afternoon, go to that site, you clean it, and you replace with good flowers, or you plant, say for example, vegetables, I'm very sure that tomorrow people are not putting that rubbish there because they know that I want vegetable from this. So I will grow more vegetables. So that is the framework that we want, rather than you ask who is responsible for this. I want to take a shot of this. I want to viral it, blah, blah, blah. You create animosity in the public, in the society. So it's not positive aura that we are creating. We are creating more vandalism in the future, okay? Because you are in charge of that, I will throw in another place. I will throw to the river. Something like that. So this is what we are doing. So this is my hobby. We spend at least a few hours a week with my colleagues. We go to places like this. We can see a lot of things. Yeah. This is in Sungai Gong. We know the story of Sungai Gong that caused water disruption that affected 5 million people. And the way we do it, if your river is not no one is looking after your river, people throw almost everything. That cat, that animal, blah, 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 is in front of your river or at the river tributaries. So instead of having this river, we want to have a trail, nice trail for people to jog around it, for people to enjoy the scenery. We plant trees, we plant flowers, we plant vegetables. So if you want, you take it, because this is under this is a reserve of DID. Yeah, no one can claim this is their river. So this is what we are trying to do. This is Deputy Director of the DID, blue shirt, Dato Azmi. This is Dato Sahlan. This is Dato Osman. This is Kota Kampung. Yeah, so this is what we are doing. So instead of blaming people, sending enforcement officer, we collect rubbish in front of their house.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So
We
Dato
don't-
Sri, is there any a difference between, say, protecting the environment and preserving the environment, which would be considered a strong sustainability paradigm?
There are three words that we have to understand. Yeah, one is preserving. Preserve means you don't do anything.
Mm.
Yeah, preserve. I want to preserve. You don't do anything. You let it be. Second, conserve. Conserve. You do something to improve it. You make some adjustment to it. And I'm not talking about natural environment. I'm talking about environment in general. Protecting, you are acting against something. Say, for example, people are polluting, so you're protecting that environment from pollution. But the two keywords which is important is conserving and preserving. Yeah, so this is very important. In Malay, the word sustainability means against pollution. So pollution is polluting, preserving or conserving is sustaining. So therefore, in my slide, I mentioned if you are mencemarkan, lawan dia or the opposite to that is melestarikan. You are polluting, you are sustaining. Yeah, so sustainability. So this is words that I think need to be identified proper. Otherwise, we are confusing.
Exactly. So, Dato Sri, I mean, we know that we want to change, and I am pretty sure that many out there is still there. They were asking the same thing, and the same thing is it depends on what roles and what hats they are wearing. But I make it more generic that what is the benefits of this sustainable development for the future generation?
So
Maybe from that, yeah, they can see, then they will start to change, you know.
Okay. This is, as I mentioned, I'm talking about water related, okay?
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, we are treating our water ecosystem, or we are conserving, we are preserving our ecosystem in order to use the lower part, effluent receiving, pollution dilution, flood mitigation, transportation. This has been our business or our activities in the past many odd years. Yeah, this is, we need to move forward. We need to make it as a recreational. You just imagine in front of your house, you have food resources. I want to what I'm going to eat tonight, or I'm going to fish, and then whatever we can get from the catch, I'm going to cook that tonight. I'm to fry that. I'm going to have barbecue on from the food catch today, fish catch today, say for example. If you can do that, and many parts of the world have done it. This is in Kyoto. The first time I visited Kyoto in 1986, it was very dirty river, but now it's very clean river. Yeah, so and I'm getting inspired by my friend. His wife was one of the activists of Kyoto River, Friends of Kyoto River. You just imagine, in order to change everything, they built trails, the nice along the river, so people can benefit from it. If you travel to Kyoto, you must travel to temples and old structures and the river, because the river is the place where people relaxing, and all great things are close to the river at the moment. So it means that we are making our country beautiful, clean, and it could be, say for example, in the context of Malaysia national trails that we are developing, to have 10,000 kilometer trails around the country. So if you have 2 hours time whenever you travel to Malacca, say for example, so I have an option of 20 trails that I can visit, just like this.
Yeah, I totally agree, because when Dato Sri mentioned about Malacca, I remember in last year 2020, when we are in the first MCO lockdown, everybody's cannot go anywhere. I saw the news from the TV, projecting the rivers of Malacca, because I was studying in Malacca, that times, and I remember the river was in black. Then after that, the effort taken by the government that clean out the river is still yet to be clear. But I was so amazed by when there's no one can go out, but in such a short time of period, the river itself is being cleansing and is transparent. You can see through. There's like, okay.
You know who are the culprits?
I know. The tourists.
Yeah. So I think this is something that we have to do as a professional, as architects, as town planners, whatever. We must think our country as a place where people can come to benefit from and to emulate from in the future. We cannot be just emulating others, and they are saying that we were as bad as you 20 years ago. If you go to Korea, they have Hans River, 156 kilometers of river trails. Hans River, you can cycle, you can walk. Yeah. And Hans River as bad as Sungai Kelang 20 years ago. Probably worse than Sungai Kelang.
Yeah, correct. So, Dato Sri, we have one more question from one of our participants. Again, the same, Liam Lam. He's saying that, Dato Sri, what are the few eco-shift architects can or must do? And also he is asking the suggestion from Dato Sri, maybe the priority for the top 3 things that maybe institute like PAM can do.
Okay. First, we have to have vision. Yeah. So you can see this river. Friends of Langat River is a virtual friends that I created. My colleagues created. My colleague and I created. It's about 4 years ago, in 2017, and we were developing a framework, and we purposely doing this. This is Danube River, and this is river in Vienna. So the river next to it is what we call as off-river storage for people, and this is where the most expensive newly built real estate in Vienna located. Yeah. So when you have good ecosystems and people value that so much, people will be able to benefit. You can get the most expensive real estate when the river is clean and you are surrounded by beautiful areas. So cleanliness and good scenery is very expensive. I'm talking to architects that I know very well. You value that. It's not only interior design, it's not only the built ecosystem, but also the natural ecosystem that we created. I'm not sure whether this is natural ecosystem or built ecosystem as well, but assuming you have trees and whatnot and water, it is natural. So that is important. So there are many ways that I mentioned earlier. I forgot which slides. Number 1, low carbon emission. Low carbon emissions, you can build structures, building with low carbon. Say, for example, more glasses instead of having natural light. Lighting, electricity, using electricity. We can build, make it mandatory for every town plan architects to build storage for rainwater harvesting. I'm building my own house, a little house, that another house. So in the system, I built rainwater harvesting that cost me additional of 3,000. And with this 3,000, my flushing toilets will be there. Of course, at the moment, the water rate in Malaysia, the water tariff is so cheap, you cannot appreciate. But if you think of ihsan, I'm helping the environment. I'm doing good not because of you are praying alone, but you are not taking excessive water from others, so that you can share with more people in the future. So that is the spirit. You can also, as an architect, say, for example, we can build based on MASMA, Manual Saliran Mesra Alam. So in front of the house, it must be a sufficient absorption so that water will be retained in the vicinity, say for example for rainwater harvesting, and say for example, and that is assuming 20%, and then another 20% through the absorption by your small gardens and whatnot. So only 60% going out from your premise. So that will reduce the flood risk for that particular area. And reducing flood risk automatically will reduce the value of that real estate. Yeah, because that I'm as Secretary General at the moment, suddenly places where you never heard about flooding occurred at the moment in Melimau, in Alu Gajah, in places where, I mean, it's noted not to have flooding for many years. Suddenly, because of new development taken place, and then we have that issues, and we have to spend 50 million, 40 million for that to correct the system.
Exactly. I totally agree with it. I think the roles for the professional, like the architects, engineers, town planners, because we are, I look at it the way that we are actually in the front line in the constructions industry. So with the knowledge, I think we can actually able to be more sensitive and able to spread out our knowledge and our shared with our developers and contractors. So together in a team, then we can make sure each of the developments. So it's the same that what I use back what Dato Seri said. Even though you start from individual, but it's an individual project, individual development, and the individual developments, and it will benefits the rest in the at the end of
at least before that, you can see this. The storm of storm water, instead of they flow to the river, they flow they enrich the water bodies that we created along the river. Jadi dia tak masuk lah. Dan Danube River is very dirty. You can see that if you maintain your ecosystem, when it is flooded or exceeding certain level, barulah masuk ke. Then it will be discharged to the Danube River. Otherwise, it's remain, and you can see that what you can retain is very clean. Yeah, because there is no pollution, there is no. I mean, the water is not only coming from the storm drain, but also from the underneath, yeah, groundwater that you recharge from time to time. So it's very clean.
Exactly. So
and this is the source water as well. Yeah. Source water for the people this part of Vienna.
Agree. So I think all of us has to be very alert at how we discharge our usage of water to a proper channel, not just simply there's a longkang that you just throw out like that,
or your simple detention pond, which is very little. Not instead of little detention pond, why not you make it a recreational pond?
Exactly.
Yeah, or say for example, you have an area to be developed. The ferry is a lake like Putrajaya, and then you have a beautiful island that you created.
Exactly. So very good sharing from Dato Sri. I think we are almost close to 12:30 already, the end of the session. Thank you so much to Dato Sri, Dr. Zaini. I think great sharing. I think a lot more to share, but because time is so short, so we will make sure we'll come back to you again for another round session to share more other things on that. So thank you so much again.
Thank you, Alice. Thank you, everyone. Yep.
Yes. To all the participants, remember to lock in the second code for your lockout in order for you to claim the full CPD point for these sessions. And with that, I would like to thank you again to the CPD's Chair Architect Abu Zarin, also our PAM Deputy President, doing a great job having this CPD Unlimited number 2 for year 2021. Thank you so much. And last but not least, thank you to the crew who work behind the screens, and I'll see all of you soon, and stay safe and stay healthy. Thank you.